really today explore what is meant by customer centricity. The whole ethos behind customer centricity is that all the endeavors within any organization have to focus towards the customer. All the processes have got to be designed to serve the customer. All the activities have got to render value to a particular customer. The transition is that you work internally through customer-supplier relationships, and then the transaction which takes place externally is towards a paying customer, and then you move to an extended chain, which is managing a relationship with the customer and building and sustaining loyalty, as it says in this title. So really, centricity means that you define the business from a customer perspective. When one wants to audit or check the commitment of an organization towards the customer, we will find that the customer is defined in the mission statement, in the vision statement, in the quality policy. Most of the key objectives are defined in terms of customer. You will find, for instance, that there is a deliberate effort to start the business from the customer standpoint, identifying the needs, translating those needs into clear requirements, and then downstream working towards realizing the expectations of the customer, all the way to customer relationship management, which is the front end, the final link in the chain that determines how successful you've been at attracting and retaining the customer base. That is what centricity means. But also, it's the soft aspects that we very often neglect. Those soft aspects nowadays are found in terms of the values that you espouse to see embedded in the organization, and also the culture of the organization. If we make sure that people understand that, for instance, the customer is king, the customer is the most important person in our organization, then people will behave accordingly. If we appraise them on their performance according to the value they render to the customer, then again people will pay attention to the customer. If we emphasize that quality comes before cost saving, then people will understand that without quality you cannot save cost. Cost is a subset of managing quality, but you cannot compromise quality and at the detriment basically of creating, if you like, a customer who is angry, who is unhappy. All of these things form the basis of a customer-centric organization. But let's just look at what this means in practice. And perhaps the best thing to do is to start with some simple quotes. This is from one of the previous chairmen of Ford. He says, if we are not customer-driven, our cars won't be either. And that is very accurate. If you're not nowadays focused on the customer, you might as well close shop, because the customer is king and the customer decides on your success. I would like to tackle this issue of customer centricity from a behavioral perspective rather than from a technology perspective, from a product perspective, or even from a service perspective, because the hardware side is really the thing that can be duplicated, can be transferred, and is one where the competitive advantage can erode very quickly. But if you take it from a behavioral standpoint, like it says here, Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. If we are an organization that really is passionate about customer service, we do it as a matter of course. We do it as routine. We do it because this is the way we do things around here. We do it because it's part of our values. And that is the thing that will distinguish between those who are performing well, those who will sustain their customer-centric approach, and those who are just copying and looking at fads. So the behavioral mindset of a customer-centric organization is also a mindset that deals with the customer from a behavioral mindset. So you understand what makes a customer tick. You look at the emotional side of the customer, not just the satisfaction from the tangibility of what we give them, of service. You know, you serve a meal on a plane, make sure it's hot. Okay, you give the customer choice by designing a menu that accommodates different requirements. You put some in-flight entertainment. You make sure there is a variety of films and movies to choose from. That's all copyable. That's all, if you like, what the norm dictates you to have nowadays. But the emotional side is really the button that you must find, search for, and press to make sure the customer gains an experience. Because without that, if you like, you don't have a competitive advantage, and you will not set yourself away from the rest of the pack. There is a theme nowadays which talks about the customer PLC. In other words, the customer uses raw ingredients from you as a supplier, and then they will decide how to use those ingredients and how to give themselves the experience. Only recently, 2 weeks ago, I was in Malaysia presenting to the senior team of Malaysian Airlines at a seminar called Going Beyond Expectations. And I said to them, you as an airline are spending a lot of money redesigning your first class seats and the cabins. And they happen to launch the new refitted 747-400 jumbos. And I said to them, but that might not give you the competitive advantage. And they were a bit shocked and surprised as to what I was telling them. The truth of the matter is, if you price a premium seat on an aircraft on the basis that you're going to offer the customer 5-star service with a trolley, with a chef coming out and then preparing your food according to how you want it, or if you give the customer a big catalog to choose from in terms of movies and what they want to do, or if you give the customer a seat that is reclinable to 180 degrees so they can sleep or whatever, or if you give them a little corner on the aircraft where they can send their faxes or access their emails or whatever, and you think that this will guarantee customer satisfaction, and to your surprise, 30% of the customers walk in on the plane and they say, don't disturb me, I'm going to sleep. 20 minutes before we land in London, please, wake me up. How can you achieve customer satisfaction if the customer does not use your raw ingredients? And then if the air hostesses rush to them and say, and by the way, I forgot another important element, the ratio of attention and empathy is that you have 4 stewards or stewardesses looking after one customer. It all sounds marvelous. But what happens when the customer boards the plane and says, don't disturb me, I'm going to sleep, and wake me up 20 minutes before we land? And then you rush with the questionnaire and say, can you please fill the questionnaire? Can you tell us if we have looked after you very well? And he will say, I'm sorry, you haven't looked after me. I've looked after myself. I caught up on my sleep. I was attending these lengthy meetings. And that's really the meaningfulness of customer PLC. We live in an era now where the customer has to consume the experience. Otherwise, we cannot judge whether they have been satisfied, whether we can really gauge their mood and their attention to us. That is the button, the trigger of the emotional attention of customers. I remember that only a couple of years ago, we used to really talk about customer satisfaction from 3 different perspectives. If you wanted to sustain a competitive advantage and really differentiate from the rest of the league, you had to focus on quality, you had to focus on price, and you had to focus on delivery. And even, if you look at this survey, it's not that old. 2002, most of the business leaders, 85% of them, they said that this is no longer sustainable because there are other criteria that determine whether the customer is going to be loyal to you. Here's just a long quote from the director of Eurostar. And they are reflecting on this, the emotional side of customer satisfaction. And the argument here is that the customer experience is what you offer. The customer experience is based on the physical things, i.e. the comfort of the seat, the suitability of the meal that you present, the cleanliness of the train, and the building, the terminals, but also the other things, the psychological aspects, as he calls them here, things like how the staff have handled the customer, whether the customer feels that they are valued, whether they are treated as a commodity or whether they are treated as an individual. Is there heart to the business? Do they actually care? How do they react when things go wrong? Attentiveness, empathy are absolute musts nowadays. The customers like to be pampered. They like to feel that they are individuals. And even in the low cost, as you will see from one of the case studies I will present to you tonight, even in the low cost aircrafts now, that is an expectation. We deal with individuals. The emotional side of the customer is a new science that we must really continue to shed light on. Here's a model which is very interesting, and I think we can apply it for many years to come. The Kano model really is built on two premises. One is, if you can visualize, you have the horizontal line, which is about what you do, i.e. your internal activities, i.e. your processes, i.e. the way you work in order to satisfy customers. And if you can visualize that the left-hand side is that state where you're not doing very well, it's negative. And the right-hand side is the optimum level, you're doing it very well. This horizontal line, which is the internal focus, is at an interface with the vertical line, which is the impact it creates on the customer. As you can see from the figures there, the top is customer satisfied, the bottom is customer dissatisfied. So Kano is saying there are three challenges here. The first one he calls basic quality. That's the dimension you see at the bottom. Just visualize that. As you optimize basic quality towards the optimum level, which is doing it very well, it's a little bit under the line, and it's in a quadrant here, which I call so what kind of box. It's where the customer feels indifferent. In other words, you fly an airline, you land safely. Do you applaud them and congratulate them for landing you safely? You say, so what? If I fly, in some cases, yes, if I fly, I want to be safe, true? If I buy this computer and I plug it here and I don't get an electric shock, do I applaud IBM and say, thank you for giving me a safe product? You don't, do you? If you go to a restaurant and eat a meal and then you walk out and you don't feel as if you've had food poisoning, do you turn around and applaud the restaurateur by giving you a safe meal? Etc., etc., etc. A car, brand new car that the dealer gives you the key and says, sir, safe drive, you paid in full your check, you can go now, and you get in. Do you think that it's going to start? Do you do a little prayer to make sure that the engine is going to start? You don't even think about it, do you? And yet, behind the scene, there is a lot of effort, a lot of endeavor has been put in to optimize that line. But nowadays, we consider it as, so what? It's expected. It's really basic quality. It's the license to practice. So if you compete on that basic dimension of quality, you're not going to delight the customer. He's not even going to give you the attention of day. So Kano is suggesting that there is a second dimension. And by the way, I forgot to mention, if you fall behind and you find yourselves on the left-hand side bottom quadrant, the customer is very angry and he will let you know about it. Okay? So the second dimension of quality, he says, it's performance quality. That is a quality which is based on, a quality dimension which is based on the service. You try to differentiate what you do in your organization based on the additional things that you do. For example, you fly me safe, but you give me a good service on the flight. You sell me a computer that works, but you give me good instructions, which are, user-friendly. You serve me a meal at a restaurant which is healthy to eat, but you give me good waitering service, and so on and so forth. So that the people identify the difference between those who are basic in their quality and those who are providing a service. And that worked to a large extent. Quality, delivery, service, or cost or price tended to work. But is this enough, do you think, nowadays? The answer is no. Even if you optimize, you are in the top right-hand side quadrant, which is, I am happy today, but I'm not sure I'll be happy tomorrow. So you've satisfied me for that particular transaction, that particular experience. But I may or may not be loyal to you. Okay? If you promise me something additional to the basic quality and you fail to deliver it, you are falling into the bottom left quadrant again. So you raise the anger of the customer again. So those two dimensions are no longer sufficient nowadays. So Kano is suggesting a third dimension of quality, which he calls excitement quality, delight quality. That dimension the customer doesn't even know about, because remember, it's above the line. Take it out and it doesn't make any difference, does it? But the more you put it in, the more you exaggerate it in terms of the attention and the empathy you give to the customer, the more that smile remains. The more that smile remains, the more the loyalty generates itself. That dimension of quality is innovation quality, because it's really giving the customer unspoken, unwanted, yeah, of course, very much wanted, but unexpected attributes. They are the delights, the little delights. And I think that's where we are nowadays, 2005. Innovation is a key driver for loyalty and retention. Innovation is the only parameter that will differentiate between organizations. Innovation is a dimension of quality, because you cannot be an innovative organization if you're not good at optimizing the basic quality. What is the point of, if you like, serving me hot meals on an economy seat if you can't even guarantee the safety of your aircraft? Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense, does it? If you know your life is at risk, do you look forward to eating a hot meal on a plane? That is, so innovation is an outcome of optimizing quality at all levels. You have to earn the right to innovate. You cannot make an organization bankrupt because you want to please the customer. That doesn't make business sense. Innovation is fueled from the cost savings, the optimization, that you get. It's based on the customer recommitting to you and showing their loyalty by flying back with you, revisiting your restaurant to order some more meals, recommending your business to others. That's how you earn innovation. So it is a quality dimension. But it has a problem with it. The problem is, as you can see from that line, dropping drastically, after a while it becomes what? It becomes boring, becomes stale. You have consumed it. Everybody else has started to catch up with you. Everybody else started to innovate in the same way. Unless you manage it as a cycle, as a process, you will not maintain the competitive advantage. So the Kano model is really a model that was launched in the early 80s, but was an idea ahead of its time, and an idea that we can still benefit from even today. I think the other thing to bear in mind is that the sequence of creating customer centricity, customer loyalty, customer retention is really by driving quality throughout the business profit chain, or throughout the whole value chain. First of all, quality has to be defined and implemented in the form of strategies, policies, processes, deliverables, objectives, what have you. Quality is not born out of luck, and is certainly not a byproduct. It is the key driver. That's what we must understand. What is the point of doing something and then at the end saying, I'll just put some veneer at the top and I'll call it quality? The customer will see through you. Quality drives the business. So define service quality, then motivate the person, the employee, to produce quality. And how do I motivate the person to produce quality? I develop them, I select them carefully, I give them, if you like, the incentives to do the things right first time, and I retain them, because the skills that we acquire from people who are excellent are those that will determine the future of the business. And when people are motivated, all the studies indicate towards that. High motivation, high productivity. They go hand in hand. When people are fired up, they produce good work. The impact of that is twofold. One is people who are motivated want to stay with your business. They're happy. They're not going to look for another job. And that's in your favor. And the other thing is people are happy, they're productive. So put those together and you have external service value. So you have delivered the customer something that you have built very, very carefully. And of course, the transaction after transaction after transaction gets the customer to say, I am very happy with this level of service. I am happy with the reliability of the delivery. I'm happy with the quality of the product. And I want to stay with this supplier. So loyalty is born out of repeated satisfaction. When you have a customer that is loyal, you know, the byproducts of that is that your profits look after themselves and then the business grows. Again, because the studies indicate that for every 5 years that customers stay with you, there is an incremental impact on your growth because they put in more business. They don't have to go anywhere else. You know, and they grow you directly and indirectly. Indirectly in the form of being your ambassadors and selling your business to their friends, their relatives, by speaking about their unique experiences. Let's go back to the emotional thing again. Because if you tickle somebody and you make them happy, they will take every opportunity to talk about it. If we give every customer an experience, you know, every time they speak, they impact on 10, some studies say 15, some of them go as far as saying 40 customers. The female customers talk more than the men, so multiply it by 3. But that is really the logic. The logic is that quality has to drive, quality has to be defined before it gets executed. Quality is not born out of chance, and quality is not a byproduct. Here's another model that we may wish to look at. A customer loyalty model which is integrated, but also which takes the external perspective. First of all, you define what you give to the customer as a value proposition. As a value proposition based on the formula that you use. How much quality do you put in? How much emphasis do you place on price? And how much emphasis do you place on your uniqueness, your brand, your innovativeness, and that kind of thing? That is really the driver, if you like, of attractiveness and loyalty and retention. And that delivers, of course, market share and delivers your profitability. However, there are other experiences and there are other factors that will also change the commitment, the loyalty and the attractiveness to the customer. First of all is really the previous history that you have vis-a-vis your customers. Secondly is your organization, your characteristics. Are you reliable? Are you consistent? Are you cost effective? Do you manage speed well? Are you responsive in terms of change, of demand? Are you flexible to accommodate extra needs that the customer wants you to do? These are parameters that are important to the customer. They may not be important to us inside the organization, but those characteristics will influence directly or indirectly the level of commitment. Then you have macro factors like the barriers to switching. Would you accept that a customer who has been with an organization for 20 years is necessarily because they are satisfied? What would you say about the fact that this particular instance is due to a monopoly situation where the customer is constrained to maintain a relationship that they detest and they don't want really if they have an alternative? So that is really the self-prophecy that many organizations are proud of, and I have seen it in many sectors. So let's be careful with that. Barriers to switching determines how long the customer can stay with you. In banking nowadays, the switching is very high. 80% of customers switch in banking. You may not think. Airlines is also very high. I think it's in the 70s or the 80s. It's because it's easy. If I'm not happy with British Airways, I say I will not fly them again, as long as I'm angry at least anyway. But if I have an option, I will switch. I will not think twice about it. It's very easy to switch in many industries. And that is the pattern now. More and more, we will see that the customer is really king, because if I want to invent this word, the switchability is really going to increase radically. And then, of course, you have the market environment. Are you in a thriving era within your industry sector? Are you in the airline, for example, has been struggling for even before 9/11, and very, very few airline carriers are making money at the moment. So those market conditions are going to determine really whether the customer is looking for a cheap seat or whether they are really loyal and they will fly with you. But at the end of the day, there are models that we can use to determine what is the process that we can use for making our value propositions attractive to the customers and retaining them. This is the basic language that I am sharing with you tonight. I am not talking about a customer-centric organization. I am talking about the transactions that we must undertake in order to produce the bare minimum, which is customer satisfaction. And then ultimately, from satisfaction, you hope to move to customer retention. Customer retention is not 100% if you have 100% customer satisfaction. You can work extremely hard if you have 100% customer satisfaction to retain about 80% of your customer base. Ultimately, you will still lose some customers. That's how hard it is. There is no guarantee. Now, let's build in on this argument that we have prepared so far. We have now said, according to these models, that the ultimate goal is to attract and retain customers. We've also argued that the weapon for doing that is to build quality from within and drive it through this value chain perspective. We have looked at some models that really tell us about how to achieve customer satisfaction and customer retention. What I want to do now is focus a little bit about the front end, assuming that we have upstream built the processes, the policies, the mission statements, the strategies, and the quality ethos and the quality drive and the quality culture that will enable us basically to move to the market. Let's make that assumption. And let's now work at the front end of the business and particularly talk about customer relationship management, because that will really determine whether a business can survive, can sustain its performance, and can thrive in the future. CRM is a newly acquired language. You can see from here that if not thousands of organizations are spending a lot of money on CRM-related technology and services. Now, be careful, because I have clearly said CRM-related technologies and services. I did not link it to the centricity thing, which is, as I said, it's a behavioral mindset. What interests me tonight is to say that you are successful because the behavioral mindset is right. Technology is an enabler. And I will emphasize this time and time again because it's very important. You cannot buy ready-made solutions to your customer problems. You cannot buy success by investing in technology or software. You have to earn the trust and the commitment and the loyalty of your customers because you have tickled their emotions and they know you are their preferred options. That is really the difference between those two. $13 billion is invested in 2002. Multiply it by at least twice. So it's really huge. So in our introduction tonight, we need to qualify CRM. Customer relationship management, we cannot buy. Technology is very important. Yes, of course. But technology is only an enabler. CRM is really linked to the centricity theme. It has therefore got to be linked to the strategy that we can apply at all levels and in all sectors. There is no reason why we cannot have a CRM ethos in hospitals, in healthcare, in the public sector, because we have customers there too. CRM is about the guarantee. the predictability of your performance as a business. It means that you ensure that on a sustainable basis, your customers continue to be satisfied and be happy with what you give them. And that's really powerful. And CRM really is a tool that will enable us to achieve high retention and loyalty basis. Okay, so how can we create a customer-centric organization with a business philosophy that is driven by customers, not with a software package? Simple as that. This is a definition of CRM which really captures everything that we need to know. First of all, as I said earlier on, it is a business strategy. It's means to an end. It's about managing existing relationships and retaining valuable customers for the future. It's also about shaping the culture of the business by engaging directly with the customer outside, feeding back the experiences of the customer at all levels, and developing that, if you like, synchronized perspective where we are touching and feeling the customer at all levels. And this can be seen by the way we manage through the marketing perspective, the sales perspective, and all the service and the innovation processes that are a little bit upstream. If we have functionalities which are defined in terms of technology, that can only help us by building a CRM culture, because we build the spirit of entrepreneurial thinking and having, if you like, the power of knowledge, the power of information to make decisions at all levels, to channel requests from the customer to any level within the organization. And really with the right leadership, which wants to create a climate which is driven by customer centricity, and the right strategy and the culture, we have cracked it. We have the right behavioral mindset. That's really the challenge of a customer-centric, CRM-enabled organization. The appalling thing, however, is that all the businesses that claim to have a CRM culture, they don't have culture at all. They have a portal, they have an e-business perspective at the front, they have software, they have data. Even their data is not, if you like, validated, it's not reliable, it's not mined, it's not channeled through the right people. Organizations I have come across, they are functionally driven. Sales competes with marketing. You cannot have these, because the conditions for having CRM is that you have to break all of these walls. You have to have one value chain. The information flows synchronized one way and another way. The customer points at the business supplier. He won't praise you. He won't say, actually, your marketing people did a very good job. And on the whole, all your people who work in operations are very good. But I'm a bit disappointed with your salespeople. Would he say that? He won't, because he sees you as one business. And as we say, you're only as good as the weakest link in the chain. Because if you have one weak link in the chain, you don't have a chain anymore. So let's really understand that. So the starting point, therefore, for a CRM philosophy, strategy, whatever you want to call it, is to define it from the top. Leadership from the top. Business strategy. Change the organization to suit the purpose. What is the point of saying we want to be customer-centric, and then you are management by objective driven, you are silo driven, you create, if you like, competition between the different functions, you're biased towards marketing because you think marketing is more important than sales or technical services or supply chain, whatever. What is the point of doing that? So you change the organization to suit the strategy. Strategy drives the business. Processes are the engine by which you deliver value. If there is incompatibility between the what and the how, then you cannot move forward. On average now, organizations have to re-engineer and change their processes every 18 months. I know it's frightening. I know I'm not giving you a reassuring message, but that is the reality. Structure is a shell. Okay, that's the box we work in. But strategy drives the business. The business is defined at the top. The miracle does not happen by itself. It has to be delivered from the top. So change in the organizational work processes is very important. And of course, then you have the luxury of enabling a business with the IT, with the software, with the packages that are available. And there are wonderful software packages. No problems there at all. Let me just now very quickly show you the impact that technology can have on the various functions. CRM helps marketing tremendously because marketing's role is really to look at markets, prospective markets, and acquiring new customer bases. And CRM give them data mining so that they look at profiles, they look at gender, they look at habits, they look at all kinds of things. They can use the data for targeting campaigns and designing specific language or slogans or to suit specific customer demands. They can use this, if you like, for distribution purposes. But also they can use it to look at cost of service and looking at pricing strategies and looking at long-term value, you know, because the data is in front of you. You know who are your tier 1 customers who spend a lot of money in your business, those who are occasional users, those who are not committed, and you know, you can trigger the interest of those, so you can manipulate the customer without them feeling that they're being manipulated. I'll give you a case study later on. You will see how frightening manipulation can be. Same thing with sales, because at the end of the day, sales want to generate revenue. So the data gives them the opportunity basically to look at packaging and to look at, if you like, making you know, special deals and so on. And configurations, also the knowledge management tools, because they will look at what is happening on the ground, and maybe they have got some competitive data as well, and that will enable them basically to distribute directly or indirectly. If you are, for example, in the airline, you've got travel agencies, and it helps you. It helps you a lot with forecasts. You can look at trends. You can look at demand, whether it's cyclical. The data is amazing. The data has to be used, however. And as I said, you will be surprised to learn that only a very low percentage of organizations are sophisticated enough to get the benefits from CRM packages. Impact on e-business, for example, again, because you have the direct interface with the customer. You know, you can enable the customer to purchase directly. Speed, because you don't have to wait. It's real time. Convenience, you can book yourself from home, you know, and so on and so forth. And of course, cost is the key attractiveness of e-business. You know, that is really, you know, what is happening at the moment. As far as service is concerned, look at the data you have. You see, if you have call centers applications, as soon as a customer phones in, you might look at their profile. They don't know on the other end of the line that you're looking at them. You know if they are somebody who has complained before, you will know. If somebody who is a premium customer, you will know. And that's very powerful. And then basically you can direct the customer to other services, and you can really use the internet-based web, if you like, portal to guide the customer towards the organization. All of this is really what CRM is about. But does it happen easily? The answer is no. Because you need really serious executive leadership for customer relationship management, and you need to create a customer-centric culture. And we will spend some time looking at some of the case studies. Here is one that I am particularly familiar with, and which I think is an embarrassment to most of the airlines in the world, because Southwest Airlines happens to be a low-cost carrier. And it competes at the highest level with the full-service airlines. Guess what it competes on? You might say price, of course. It's a low cost. And I say to you, no, it competes on quality. The only airline in the world, low-cost airline, that has been making a profit consistently on a sustainability basis for the last 20 years. In fact, it's only one of the 3 airlines in the USA that has made a profit last year. It's the only airline in America that hasn't been affected by the recession, by 9/11, by everything else. And let's go and visit them and let's find out why. First of all, they put customer at the heart of everything that they do. Their model is really about building and maintaining customer relationships. If you look at their mission statement, customer service is at the core of what they do. And what is written in red there is extracted from their mission statement. Dedication to the highest quality of customer service, delivered with a sense of warmth, friendliness, individual pride, and company spirit. That is what I mean about giving the customer an experience, the emotional side of customer centricity. And the customer is also the internal customer. They treat their employees in the same way. They respect everybody, everybody respects everybody else, and they use, as an employer, a caring attitude. In fact, there was a book written by Keller, somebody, their ex-chairman, called Nuts, where he argues the case. He says, no, the customer cannot be king. You know, the employee is king. Because if I produce an employee who is motivated, who is satisfied, who is productive, then I can help the customer. But I cannot make the customer king if I treat the employee very badly. When you think of the service profit model that I shared with you earlier on, you can see the logic coming from that. This is a quote from an executive, the vice president customers executive. She says that the helm is an effective organization management. We spend a lot of time hiring the right people, recruiting the right people. We develop profiles for every job, and everybody has got a customer. So in addition to pilots, mechanics, and ramp agents and so on, everybody has a customer, whether it's internal or external. And that's really a smart thing. Who is your customer? Do we ask this in every organization? The answer is no. Do we help people identify whom they are serving really? The answer is no. All the employees receive training once a year, updates on customer service, methods of serving the customer, competencies, certification processes. You cannot be put at the front line if you are not equipped to do it. Even if the business is struggling, you must be competent, you must be certified. That's a must, because they know the damage they will do. If you like, it's like, would you let a mechanic who is still a trainee do a maintenance job on an aircraft? Would you do that? You wouldn't, because he's not certified. They do this philosophy in all the aspects of the business, and particularly the front line services. Several awards and recognition programs to really say thank you to people who serve the customers in an exceptional way. And as I said, although they are a low-cost carrier, they have the customer at the heart of what they do, and they have over the years tried to differentiate themselves as an attractive airline with a large customer base and people who have traveled with them by choice, not, if you like, by necessity. This is interesting. They said, we get letters from regular customers apologizing because they had to take another carrier. That doesn't happen, really, does it? I never apologize to British Airways by saying, I'm sorry, I prefer to fly with Emirates Airlines because they are better, okay? But Southwest Airlines get customers feeling guilty because they are so loyal, so passionate. But listen to the second anecdote. An employee is in tears. Why is she in tears? Because one of her regular customers is in hospital with a heart attack. They develop such a close relationship with customers on a one-to-one basis. They know their habits, they know their families, they know their interests in sport and and everything else, and they maintain those links. So you don't have to come and buy a ticket from me before I ask you how well you're doing. You see, relationships. That's what really the real meaning of customer relationships. What I would like to do now is really, having argued for a while about the behavioral mindset of customer centricity, I would like really to take you through this model, which is a logical model that really puts the conditions of success in terms of creating a customer-centric culture, but also it's built on my personal observations and my experience with working with different industry sectors. There are 4 pillars I'm suggesting here. Working, if you like, in a dynamic environment which is driven by 2 major requirements. One requirement in the 21st century, unfortunately for us, is going to be speed. Speed is going to dictate those who are going to be leaders and remain leaders, and those who are going to be followers and laggards. The other thing, which a new concept, is called agility. The agility is really the manipulation of different variables. One is quality, the other one is innovation, and the third one is really operations together, so that you can have a total flexible approach to deliver mass customization in a very dynamic business environment. This is difficult because you could say to the customer, no problems, we will take note of your needs and the things that you're suggesting. Give us 5 years and we will really delight you. The customer will not wait for you even 6 months. Okay, that's number one. Number 2 is the cutthroat really approach that is used now. Call centers a few years ago were very attractive. If you had a call center, people will rush and say, oh, they pay attention to me. I better change my account from British Gas to whoever it is, you see, because they look after me. Do you think call centers are attractive now? They're not. Because as Kano said to us, innovation comes down with time and becomes boring. So we have to continuously innovate. So I will define those a little bit more. But let's really look at them one by one. First of all, service differentiation. It means that really we must understand what drives satisfaction at each level of our customer base, and for each segment. If we are serving different segments in the marketplace, we must do this analysis. In the airline, most airlines will tell you long-haul flights to London, for example, are very profitable. Then we have the mid-haul flights, they are okay. But some of our flights, they're losing money. For example, going to the Far East. Is that where it stops? Or should you really go back and define what service do you provide for each sector? How can you stimulate those sectors that are not really profitable and enter them and really stimulate them with innovation and that kind of thing? Assess the business value of all customer-facing programs. In other words, it's really about the profitability of the business. And if you have, for example, the executive clubs now, are they profitable? Loyalty cards, are they profitable? Self-check-in, the automation, is it profitable? We need to do this analysis and understand what brings profit, because they're all services. You treat your premium customers with respect, give them a lounge where they can sit, give them air miles to collect, and then make it convenient for them to check in at their ease when they come in. But one of them is profitable. Not all of them are profitable. If we don't do the analysis, we can't assume, we can't say, oh yeah, we're looking after our customers. Rubbish. Remember what I said earlier on about the first-class premium service designed to impress, to excite, to delight the customer, and he comes in and says, don't disturb me, I'm going to sleep. Must really do it scientifically. Prioritize or reject potential investments based on expected return plus cost and risk of implementation. And again, that analysis must be done. The copycat principle does not work. Everybody used to copy everybody else about call centers. What happened at the end? Everybody moved to India now because India is cheaper. India provides, a quality service at a fraction of the cost. What a waste of time that was. Because we used copycat. We didn't really use scientific analysis about needs and about impact and about the sustainability of that impact. I put the second pillar as information and knowledge-based decisions. In other words, let's really analyze the value to the customer by doing the 20/80 rule, by improving operating efficiency based on the impact that we create on the customer. You cannot disperse and dilute the resources that you have in an organization on the basis that you are doing the right thing. No. You need the data, you need really the information, you need the knowledge to generate impact. 20% gives you 80% of the impact. Value-based segmentation offers the opportunity to understand the habits of different customer groups. As I said before, knowledge-based decisions. Why should you drop a route, because it's not profitable? Maybe it's you, the problem. Maybe it's because you haven't offered what the customer wants. Maybe it's your pricing strategy needs to be modified. Maybe you haven't stimulated the market in the right way. Except maybe the time is not appropriate for the flights, for getting, if you like, the critical mass of people that will be interested in flying with you. Maybe the connections of those flights is an issue, and therefore people don't want to travel with you because they want to carry on and going on. So much intelligence, so much can be done with a CRM, and so much can help create what I call knowledge-based decisions. Route and schedule planning based on customer analytics. I've already said that. Yield management and pricing based on customer analytics to work out cost reduction opportunities and increase customer revenues. I think some airlines started to do this. I mean, you can buy a flight nowadays for £1. They're not losing money, That £1 is making money. You can have a return flight to Spain for £2. Not bad. Because that is what CRM is doing. They have capacity. Plane is going to fly. Those seats have not been sold. It's not going to make any difference to them. They have covered their revenue base. They have got their targets met. Why not? That's the inducement bit. Because that customer who buys a ticket today for £1, next time they say, I really enjoyed that flight. Maybe I'll consider them next time. So they go and they try to find a cheap flight. They say, the cheapest seat I can find today is £60. Oh, no problems. I'll pay £60 because I enjoy flying with them. You see? That's clever stuff. Knowledge-based decisions. Empowerment. An airline CRM strategy will help differentiate services and improve operations only if implemented effectively, because it permeates throughout the business. It affects all the key stakeholders in the business. It's all the core activities and processes within the business. And therefore, unless we have a culture of empowerment where the different, if you like, key players can make decisions, then we haven't got really a customer-centric culture. So the capability is really the key enabling factor behind CRM programs. The more you build into this link between strategic development and process management, the more capability you have, because enablers are producing the results that you want. And the more you emphasize on training, the more you emphasize of what we call here service-oriented employees, those who have the behavioral mindset, those who don't have to be audited every 5 minutes about their commitment to the customer, the more we're going to really benefit. And the empowerment of those employees is that through the competence, you can give them the tools to capture, analyze, and make actions, informed actions. That's what empowerment is. You cannot empower somebody who is ill-trained. You have done them a disservice rather than involve them in the business. A lot of organizations use empowerment by really putting people in the firing line. You equip, you certify, you train, and you provide the tools, and off you go. You let people make the decisions, and they will not let you down, because they know what to do. That's a process that needs meticulous action. And that's why Southwest, for example, have been very successful with that. I mean, the reason is, I mentioned those pillars particularly, is because there have been a lot of research identifying why customer satisfaction is a problem. Why is it that we cannot achieve, if you like, guaranteed loyalty from the customer base? It starts with leadership, because the leadership moves the goalposts. They don't really take responsibility for defining the customer at the strategic level. They don't drive the vision. They don't remind others. They don't enable the implementation. They don't put business-oriented goals so that everybody is aligned towards doing the same thing. Or they have a blueprint called CRM strategy, and nobody has heard of it. And I have come across this. You know, it's written, it's documented, or it's a report that some consultants have prepared, but nobody else knows about, because it hasn't affected the business at all. So it's a myopic view of what CRM strategy is about. It's like saying we have a frequent flyer program. Okay. I worked with an airline once, and I said, what do you do with your data? He says, well, you know, we collect the data. We have got all the details. I said, no, what do you do with it? Do you mine the data? Do you channel it to the marketing and salespeople? And they don't do anything with it. You're talking about spending tens of millions of dollars to create that loyalty program. It's really the policies, the procedures, the structures, and the change process that takes place to enable and effect those strategies. That is really all put in one umbrella called CRM strategy. Or if you have a CRM strategy which is not coordinated, you know, you have a loyalty program which works on its own. The sales people say, our number one focal point is service excellence. We're going to really raise the standard a little bit. The marketing people will say, you know, we're going to rebrand. We're going to give our look and feel a 21st century look, because our customers really expect us to do this. So everybody is singing their own tune, but put it together and it's not there. It doesn't make sense. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And that's one of the reasons why there are problems. The fourth pillar, as I said, is quality orientation. First of all, the hardest bit is creating the customer-centric processes, redefining the business so that it's all driven towards the customer. Every activity adds value. It's all interlinked. There are synergy levels between upstream aspects of the business and the downstream aspects of the business. All the measurement is towards service orientation, not efficiency. Value added activity is service. Service level agreements between departments internally, and customer satisfaction, service excellence measurement outside towards the end customer. 3 is what drives those processes is not really efficiency, as I said, or cost reduction, is value-based offering. You know, it's the incremental improvements, and it's the innovation that really creates the third dimension. And that should be reflected at each stage of the value chain of the business. Number 4 is innovation focus. You know, continuous improvement is not just about optimization, it's also about innovation. Optimization gives you the maximum, that what we call your entitlement. If you have an investment, you have got to get the return on investment. If you have processes that are working at 87%, you know, there is 13% to claim. But that doesn't give you innovation. You must have an element of innovation. The customer expects you to renew, expects you to excite, expects you to tickle them, because if you stop, you become boring. That dimension that you excited them with 2 years ago falls down. Others will come and they leapfrog you. I remember when we worked with Unilever a few years ago, their motto used to be, it's better to be good and first rather than being best and last, because the customer expects to see something new, something exciting. You know, you might be good, but if you're good and first, you're the best, and you take the lead and you stay as the leader. And the last thing is sustainable performance, because quality is about sustainability. Quality is not about, today I'll give you a wonderful, wonderful experience, but forgive me if tomorrow I let you down. But you will remember I did very well for you last time you were here, wouldn't you? The customer does not remember. The customer is forgetful, but not forgetting. Okay? They forget very quickly the miracle you did for them last time. But now they demand the same or if not higher standards. So sustainable performance means you guarantee the service, the consistency, the quality, the predictability, and the performance of everyone, which is a bit hard. But that's what quality is about. It's about doing the hard things, not the easy things. If it was easy, everybody will be world class. Remember what I said about the two challenging dimensions that really shape up the success of an organization that wants to be customer-centric. One of them is speed and the other one is agility. Let's go back a little bit. In the 70s, cost used to be the major focal point because demand was high, and therefore, you manufacture any product, it will sell. You build any television set, it will sell, as long as people can afford it, then it's not a problem. Then I think quality started to be introduced in the early 80s and dominated and still dominating. People started to say, I want a basic quality feature, but I want a differentiating dimension as well, please. I want quality. And I want service, I want all those things. And then in the 90s, I think that the third feature that was introduced was speed. So we started to see that by using new methods, we could re-engineer processes, we could make activities collapse, we could compress, we could cut down time to market by 50%. For example, the car that used to take 10 years to build in the 60s, by the 90s, it started to take 2 years, 2.5 years to build. The printer that used to take 4 years to be designed and built in the 70s, by the mid-90s, it started to take 12 weeks to build, and everything was shrinking drastically because speed became a dimension. Speed didn't come just by demand from the customer. It was also a dimension that was enabled by the fact that we learned ways and methods of shrinking, of re-engineering, of compressing, of using this process-based approach. And I think now we have introduced a new dimension called agility. At the bottom there, you will see a brief description that I put together for agility. It means customizing mass customization. Wow, that sounds really interesting. It means that if I fly 30 million people a year, how can I treat them as 30 million customers who represent a segment of my market? But also, how can I customize for each one of them precisely what they want? How can I give them the preferred seat that they want? How can I give them the food that they really prefer to eat? How can I give them, if you like, the entertainment programs that they want? So the personalization really is the value added that people wish to get now. And I think now we have even moved to a new method of using agility in line with what I call the customer PLC. You could, for instance, now go to a car manufacturing plant. You could walk on the shop floor, select the engine that you want, select the color of the car that you want, select the options that you want to your car, whether you want a roof rack, whether you want this, whether you want that, and then your car is being manufactured just in front of your eyes. I was saying today about how automation has enabled this agile mass customization principle to be adopted. Levi Strauss, for example, a few years ago, started to introduce your own personalized Levi's jeans. So they said, we don't want to embarrass you for you to come to the shop and really try to fit into 30 or 40 pairs of jeans, because those cubicles are very narrow and those lights are very hot and we become sweaty and nothing fits to perfection. They said, no, 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 you don't have to do that. You come there in front of an advisor who really helps you with your pair of jeans. And they will take your measurements, they will key them into a computer-aided machine, and then they will produce a model which doesn't look exactly like you, but will have the same shape as you. And they will model in front of your eyes your pair of jeans, and then they might even say to you, have you got any skin irritation, or is there a fabric that you prefer? You can choose your fabric, you can choose your color, and then as soon as you say, I am happy, thank you very much, they press the button, the data goes to this automated plant, and then they will cut the piece, and they will produce your own pair of jeans that gets delivered to your doorstep. In those years, I used to say $34.99. I don't know whether they're still worth that much. So that is really mass customization. You can sell over the year 1 million pairs of jeans, but you will sell them to different individuals. The technology enables you to do that. That is really what the idea that we live in. The airlines now are doing that on the premium customer side. They are actually configuring the whole service base to suit specifically individuals on each flight, on each route. And the challenge now is to see if they can do it for economy class seats as well, which will be a big test, of course. So that is really agility and speed. So in summary for this session, I call it the 5 cardinal recommendations for service excellence. This is the basic requirement for being towards, if you like, a customer-centric culture. You have to develop a vision which clearly shows the intention of the organization to become customer-centric. We must measure what we render to the customer at all stages in the value chain. We must really believe in empowerment, because if you remember, the service profit model clearly says that it's people who deliver customer satisfaction. If we don't understand this logic, or if we don't want to respect it and abide by it, then we will never ever be customer-centric. We have to measure that we are on our way to become customer-centric. Set targets and success metrics. Close gaps, do benchmarking. Build those pillars that I have presented. And we must really look at whether we are addressing the needs of the customer throughout the life cycle. The design, the development, the prototyping, the delivery, the manufacturing, the sales, after-sales support, the relationship, the complaints resolution, the new innovations, the empathy, etc., etc., etc. Live the customer experience. So to develop the vision, this is in the context of an airline, for example, and it's no different from any other organizations. It's really how can CRM assist you to become customer-centric? How can it bring about that transformation? Vision means not foolishness. Vision means realizable, realistic vision. It means that you have to put a business case for CRM. What is your intended or expected revenue base? What is the retention growth rate that you want to achieve? What is the impact on reducing operating costs? This analysis, the evaluation, has to be done up front, because you're going to incur some change. You're going to incur a lot of expenditure. Remember what we said about CRM vision? It has to be communicated. It has to generate buy-in from all levels. And it has to have the corporate commitment. One key player does not buy into CRM, you don't have a CRM. Life cycle, we said. Remember what I said, you're only as good as the weakest link in the chain. So you must really understand that. Focus on customer value. Okay, we have different customers, different purchasing powers, different levels of commitments. What is the profitability calculation from each level? Segment them. In the airlines, I say, regardless of frequent flyer status or membership, Look at the value they bring to your business. Does it mean that the frequent flyer spends more money? It doesn't. Let's face it, it doesn't. You just accumulate your air miles because you do a lot of traveling, but you might do it on a short route. Somebody flies with you twice a year on a long haul, and they have spent more money than your frequent flyer. So we have to be clever and understand, these different segments. Use the value. No, don't use anything else. Use CRM to create the greatest lifetime customer value. Lifetime customer value, because that's what retention is about. So if you have a potential, it's worth investing in. If you have a customer that is passive, it's worth investigating how you can stimulate them. And the data that you have in front of you, CRM enables you to interrogate, enables you to really look at the profile, enables you to, through the analytical side of the CRM, to see how you can really communicate with them and entice them, if you like, And every effort you do is still cheaper by at least 25 times than the conventional method. It's all at your fingertips. All the information is there. You don't have to employ a market research organization to go and do a survey. You have the data in front of you in most sectors. I think empowerment starts with communication. By conveying the message that the customer is important, customer service is what we're about. Give information to employees so they feel that they understand, they feel they're in the picture, particularly those who enter into interactions with customers. Incentivize the work climate so that people are encouraged to focus more on the customer and to go the extra mile and give more value. But you must, at any cost, develop a service mentality. And you must really have the empowerment with the customer in mind, so doing the right things. Because if you don't do that, the service profit model, by the way, which is scientifically validated and tested, you cannot put it to work. Set targets and success metrics. In other words, what is this CRM doing for your business? Are you getting the payback? Are you getting the intangible benefits in terms of culture change, in terms of behavioral mindset change, in terms of the climate, in terms of really the buzz that you create about the business? If you go to Southwest Airlines, it's an organization where people have fun. I mean, I've read the book a few years ago, and it's a crazy organization in a way. But they want it to be that way because people don't have to be reminded anymore that the customer is important. They are competent, they are certified, they are confident, they are passionate, they are believers. You see some of the photographs. You see the pilot pulling, what do you call it? The truck that gives the push to the aircraft. He's helping this poor guy with a uniform, as a simple worker. The pilot is helping him do that. You see people doing really crazy things, but they're one family, they're one team, and that's commendable. Ensure that the customer and the business are obtaining value from the CRM program. It's the win-win. It enables you to optimize what you do for the customer, but also it enables the organization to get what it wants out of it. And use this synchronicity that I talked about so that always the feedback is conveyed to the right people, to the right processes, so that change can happen and optimization can happen, and then service excellence remains there. The life cycle is the life cycle. In other words, you build long-term relationships by looking at every stage of the transfer and transactions that affect to the customer and relaying back the information on a regular basis. Refine the business action to look at where things need improvement, where there have been dips, where there have been concerns, where there have been complaints, and where there have been failures. And in this way, you also look at how much flexibility you can give to different customers in certain aspects of the life cycle of the business. Maybe in the design, you could design different propositions. Maybe in the delivery, you can design different propositions. Maybe in the operational side, you can give different propositions. You know, you have services, for example, for people who are handicapped. You have services for families traveling with children. You have services specifically for the elderly, etc., etc., etc. You have services for people who may travel with pets and animals and what have you. You know, you try to customize by affecting different parts of the life cycle of the business so that all your customer bases are represented and your customization commitment to your market, to your customers, remains intact. So flexibility is really by seeing how well you can manipulate the different aspects of the business. A smile costs nothing, and the hospitality industry, it means everything. This is really reinforcing the thing about customer centricity is a behavioral mindset. Those who work in the industries that particularly deal with customers on a large scale, they do it because they have passion, they believe in the customer, they want to serve the customer. Their challenge is really to move mountains so that the customer is king and the customer is satisfied. So let's really sum up now by saying that, first of all, customer service does not come from a manual. It has to come from the heart. Service is an art, okay? We don't learn it in business schools. When it comes to taking care of the customer, you can never do too much. And there is no wrong way if it comes from the heart. This is a quote from someone. This is a quote from the founder of Walmart. He says, there is only one boss, the customer. And he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on downwards simply by spending his money somewhere else. So, in conclusion, that is the process, the steps of excellence towards customer centricity. People have to come first, although the customer is king, because it is people who influence quality. It is quality rendered to the customer that determine their satisfaction level. It is customer satisfaction that will impact on our profitability levels and, on our market share and our reputation, and it is that which will impact on our financial performance. So, no magic wands, no shelves, no ready-made solutions, no genie out of the bottle, no easy options. CRM needs executive leadership and a sound vision. Thank you.